What if the world's greatest empire began in poverty and betrayal? Genghis Khan was born as Temujin on the harsh Mongolian steppe, where survival was never guaranteed. His father was poisoned by enemies when Temujin was still a child, leaving his family abandoned by their own tribe. Hunger, cold, and fear became his earliest teachers. He learned that loyalty was rare and strength was essential. Betrayal followed him from a young age, shaping his view of the world as cruel and unforgiving. Yet in this hardship, something powerful formed. Temujin learned to endure when others broke. The steppe did not offer comfort, only lessons. From this unforgiving land, a conqueror was being forged. Imagine rising from nothing in a world that respects only strength. Temujin did not inherit followers, he earned them. He gathered warriors not through noble blood, but through loyalty and merit. Men followed him because he rewarded courage and punished betrayal without mercy. Old tribal divisions meant nothing to him. Skill mattered more than ancestry. Slowly, scattered clans united under his leadership. Battles against rival tribes hardened his rule. By his 30s, Temujin had done the impossible. He united the Mongol tribes into a single force. When he was declared Genghis Khan, ruler of all Mongols, the steppe had found its master. Unity turned nomads into an army. What if warfare became a force of nature? Genghis Khan transformed Mongol riders into the deadliest military machine the world had ever seen. His armies moved with terrifying speed, striking before enemies could prepare. Horse archers rained arrows while riding at full gallop. Feigned retreats lured enemies into traps of destruction. Communication traveled faster than rumors, using flags, signals, and discipline. Cities that resisted were destroyed completely. Cities that surrendered were spared. Fear became a weapon as powerful as steel. News of Mongol victories spread faster than the armies themselves. By the time resistance formed, it was already too late. War under Genghis Khan was relentless and calculated. What if no border could stop one man's ambition? Genghis Khan turned his gaze beyond the steppe toward the wealthy civilizations of China, Central Asia, and Persia. Kingdom after kingdom fell beneath Mongol hooves. Walls that stood for centuries collapsed in days. Empires built on tradition shattered under speed and adaptability. Millions died as resistance met ruthless punishment. Yet destruction was only one side of his rule. Trade routes were protected, laws standardized, and order imposed. The Silk Road reopened under Mongol control, connecting east and west like never before. Genghis Khan did not just conquer land, he reshaped how the world moved, traded, and feared. Why is Genghis Khan remembered as both a monster and a genius? He ruled with absolute authority, executing enemies without hesitation. But he also outlawed torture, promoted religious tolerance, and rewarded talent regardless of origin. Engineers, scholars, and artisans were spared and relocated to serve the empire. Law replaced chaos across vast territories. For the first time, travelers could cross continents under a single authority. Order followed devastation. His vision was not endless destruction, but total control. Genghis Khan believed peace came only after fear. His methods were brutal, but his system was effective. The world trembled, yet it was becoming connected. Something unprecedented was unfolding. What if the greatest terror was not invasion, but inevitability? As Mongol armies pushed westward, cities across Central Asia and the Islamic world began to understand the scale of the threat. News arrived before the horsemen did, stories of annihilation spreading faster than armies could march. Some rulers surrendered immediately, hoping mercy would spare them. Others resisted and paid the ultimate price. Fortified cities that had never fallen were erased from maps. The Mongols adapted to every form of defense, learning siege warfare with terrifying speed. Engineers were captured and forced to build machines of destruction. No land was too distant, no wall too strong. The world was not fighting an army anymore. It was facing a system of conquest that learned, evolved, and never forgot. What if absolute power brought structure instead of chaos? Genghis Khan ruled his vast empire through a strict legal code known as the Yasa. Theft, betrayal, and disobedience were punished harshly, but loyalty was rewarded generously. Merit replaced noble birth as the path to power. Messengers traveled safely across thousands of kilometers, protected by law. Trade flourished under Mongol protection, linking China, the Middle East, and Europe. Cultures that once stood isolated now interact daily. Knowledge, technology, and ideas moved freely along reopened routes. Fear created obedience, but order created stability. Under one authority, the world became smaller and more connected than ever before. What if the man who conquered everything left without warning? In 1227, Genghis Khan died during a campaign, his final moments wrapped in secrecy. The location of his tomb was hidden, its guards executed to preserve silence. Even in death, he remained untouchable. He left behind no grand monuments, no carved statues proclaiming his greatness. Instead, he left an empire stretching from the Pacific to the edge of Europe. His sons and generals inherited a world built through fear and discipline. The man was gone, but the machine he created lived on. Death ended his life, not his influence. What if death made the empire even more powerful? After Genghis Khan, his descendants continued the expansion with unstoppable force. The Mongols swept into Eastern Europe, Russia, the Middle East, and deep into China. At its height, the Mongol Empire became the largest contiguous land empire in history. Different regions were ruled by different khanates, all tracing authority back to one man. Destruction continued, but so did trade, diplomacy, and cultural exchange. Paper money, gunpowder, navigation, and medicine spread across continents. Violence opened doors that remained open for centuries. The empire did not last forever, but its impact did. Genghis Khan's shadow covered the world long after his death. What if the most ruthless conqueror also reshaped humanity's future? Genghis Khan is remembered for rivers of blood and cities reduced to ash. Yet he also connected civilizations that had never truly met. East and West became part of a single world system. Trade routes flourished, ideas spread, and history accelerated. He ruled through fear, but created stability through law. His methods were brutal, his vision unmatched. Genghis Khan proved that one person could alter the fate of continents. The cost was unimaginable, but the transformation was undeniable. He did not just build an empire. He changed how the world was connected forever.